couple of weeks ago, I talked about a lawsuit where the Miccosukee tribe of Florida and multiple environmental rights organizations were trying to stop alligator Alcatraz. The Everglades is an incredibly fragile and important ecosystem. There is a reason that we call wetlands the kidneys of the planet. So not only is the Everglades important for the wildlife that calls it home, it's also called home by the Miccosukee tribe, and the area in and around Alligator Auschwitz is considered sacred to them. They want to access that site and are being prohibited from doing so. So these environmental groups in the tribe brought this lawsuit that were like, hey, they can't be doing this paving, they can't be building these roads in this protected site. This is a violation of environmental law. We have to get creative. We have to do workarounds. Like, in and of itself, the destruction that we were seeing Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump doing in the Everglades, that's bad enough, but they're doing that destruction in order to open a concentration camp. And I think for those of us that are white, it can elude us that the way the Trump regime is trying to carry out an ethnic cleansing is currently carrying out an ethnic cleansing against brown people in this country. That's just a continuation of the genocide that the United States government has been enacting against Indigenous people for centuries. The only difference between Native Americans and immigrants down here who are brown is just this border. It's just an artificial border that humans have decided to create. These are Indigenous people up here. These are Indigenous people down here. Yes, the Miccosukee tribe bringing that lawsuit, it absolutely was about them protecting their rights to access that land. It was about environmental protection for a place that they call home, a place that is sacred to them. It also was a show of solidarity with immigrants who are being attacked by the United States government, by the regime of Donald Trump. So 6 days ago, a judge agreed with the tribe and they agreed with environmental activists and said, yeah, I'm going to put a temporary block on any further construction at Alligator Auschwitz. The judge had 2 days of initial testimony and said, yeah, that's enough for me to issue a 14-day temporary restraining order. And so this is just a temporary block while this case plays out. They cannot continue to pave, they cannot continue to build new roads in an environmentally sensitive area. And then in the last 2 days or so, I have seen folks reporting that Alligator Auschwitz is being emptied.
Hi, my name is Taylor. I drove from Missouri to Alligator Alcatraz, and I made a bunch of connections there while I was there. And we are hearing from detainees who are communicating with their family members that for the past 48 hours, they've been moving people en masse very quickly. People are watching the cages next to them be completely emptied. They're moving hundreds of people at once, and we were trying to figure out why. And they were told today that the facility is closing. We don't know why. We don't know if it's temporary, but people are being scattered across detention facilities across the country. We don't know what's happening to them. They haven't even had the opportunity to have access to legal services yet. I don't know how to track them. They're not showing up on the ICE locator. There's nobody to call. I don't know how to help them. We need help.
Okay, before I get into this, can I just say, to see regular everyday Americans, this is just some regular lady from Missouri who was like, this is not right. I have to do something about it, who stopped her life and went down there to find out more information, to protest against what was happening. I know that it feels like people in this country are not doing anything. I see and hear from my European viewers, especially, like, why aren't Americans doing anything? Regular everyday Americans are pushing back in so many ways. Regular everyday Americans are resisting in so many ways, and y'all just don't hear it, you don't see it, you don't know about it. Regular folks, y'all, are compelled to do something in this moment, to stand up and say, I am going to be on the right side of history. This cannot go unanswered. This cannot continue to happen here. This one woman's decision to go down there has brought so much attention to what's happening in Alligator Alcatraz. She's done so much work connecting with the families of the men who are being kept in that concentration camp. Right, normal, ordinary folks are saying, I can't stop all of this by myself. I can't push back against every single thing the regime is doing. I can't stop all of this, but I'm going to find one way. I'm going to find a way to give my energy and my time, and I'm going to do something about what's happening. I'm going to stand up in the ways that I'm able to do so. So we're hearing these reports that they are emptying Alligator Alcatraz, and the speculation is it's because of this court ruling. Now, understanding the ways that corporate media is in the pocket of the fascists and is doing their work, we haven't seen any credible reporting from any major media outlet that Alligator Auschwitz is actually being emptied. I understand that if that is what is happening, and I really want to believe people who have firsthand accounts, we want to listen to the family members who are describing what is happening to their loved ones. And it would be a huge embarrassment for this regime to admit that they lost to some environmentalists and some indigenous folks who decided to sue. This regime wants to seem all big, inevitable, all powerful, and that nobody can stop them. So of course, they're not going to report if they are losing, if they're having to empty out this big, huge concentration camp that they really drummed up in the media, right? This was the thing that they drew so much attention to, is we're going to do this everywhere. This is going to happen all across America. You can't stop us. So this regime said, we are going to throw up this tent concentration camp and we're going to keep immigrants in cages, deny them due process, and there's nothing you can do about it. The court has said, no, you have to stop all construction, but they didn't actually order Alligator Auschwitz to shut down. So again, I don't know what the motivation is. We have heard from folks here on the West Coast that it is really standard practice. Actually, there was reporting out of Texas about the same thing. It's really standard practice for them to move immigrants around from facility to facility. That's an intentional tactic where it becomes much more difficult for their lawyers to find them, their family members to find them, and then they can just bill. Remember, they're publicly traded, but these are businesses, right? They have these huge government contracts, but these are businesses that are making a ton of money, billions and billions of dollars, right? And there's a little churning here. When you move folks from facility to facility, you can charge for that. The lack of stability, the complete chaos is a way that not only do they make it much more difficult for these immigrants to see their family members and to get due process, but it's all about the grift. Everything about what Trump is doing with this ethnic cleansing is going to be a grift. Everything that Trump does in general, and especially Kristi Noem does, is a grift. By the way, if you want to learn more about Kristi Noem and all her grifting, please follow my mutual Miranda. That's a rabbit hole you will enjoy going down. Enjoy/be horrified. So this tent facility in the Everglades that was thrown up very quickly cost the American people, I believe FEMA is being charged for part of this, $450 million. It's an astronomical amount. And it's all about laundering money, right? It's all about providing these contracts to these businesses that will do the food and the construction and have the guards. And then all those folks, they donate to Ron DeSantis's campaign. They donate to the Republican Party. So Florida footed the bill initially, and then Ron DeSantis said he was going to pass that bill along to FEMA. So it's us, the taxpayers, that are paying for this, but it's private corporations that are getting very rich, and it is Republicans who are watching a bunch of money come into their campaign coffers. Just like the presidential ballroom, $200 million for a project that should cost less than $4. The same thing, $450 million is outrageous. Do you remember in the 80s and 90s when Republicans' big talking point was that Democrats were all about the pork? They were adding lots of pork to the bills, and Republicans, they're the party of fiscal conservatism and responsible spending, and they've got to cut the pork. It's the same shtick as Elon Musk saying he's going to find waste, fraud, and abuse, right? Same thing, just repackaged. Every accusation from the Republicans is a confession. We are watching them be the kings of pork. We are watching them grift like crazy. We are watching them take hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, $150 billion of our hard-earned taxpayer money. And they're just like spreading it around to all of these for-profit corporations that are getting very, very wealthy off their government contracts and then turning around and donating money back to the Republican Party, donating it to these individual politicians' campaign funds.
Japanese Alliance Holdings, an emergency relief company, was granted a $3.3 million contract to supply meals to the facility. IRG Global Emergency Management signed a $1.1 million contract to provide flight and operational support. Just days earlier, IRG Global donated $10,000 to the Republican Party of Florida. CDR companies will run medical services at the detention camp. CDR donated $1.9 million to DeSantis's gubernatorial campaign. The company also contributed $500,000 to Trump's inauguration. Gotham's LLC will provide technology services to Alligator Alcatraz. The founder of Gotham's LLC gave $25,000 to the Republican Party of Florida in 2021 and $25,000 to a DeSantis PAC in 2022.
Y'all, while we want Alligator Auschwitz to get shut down altogether, it's important to know that those men have just been shuffled to other facilities. They're still not free, and we have to keep fighting for them.